Hello and welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast and TV. I'm your host, Radhaa Nilia. Today we have a very special guest and show for you, Healing Trauma with Ayahuasca and the Return to Self-Love. Today's guest is Jen Tamara, and you can say the last name.
Arredondo.
That's right. She's an incredible woman, and I've known you for quite a few years now. She's quite an accomplished healer, and in fact, she's even created her own healing modality. So please, Jen, tell us about you and the work that you do.
Well, first of all, thank you, Radha, for bringing me, finding me, and allowing me to be a part of this collaborative, and all the work that you do, and sharing these beautiful gifts and voices with the world. So I'm so blessed to be here. I'm an awakening starseed, and I am a new mommy who has just birthed a starseed. I just am just all about love is really my mission, is spreading love, having people feel acknowledged and know that they're loved. That's like my healing mission, is helping people return to that love, finding that love within, and the journey that is, learning to listen to their own bodies. That's like a big thing of mine. I'm very clairsentient, where I really feel into my body. So that's one of my gifts, is to people to feel into their own bodies and to listen. And so the different healing modalities I use breath work, energy work, and pressure point therapy to just get into those spaces and places, uncover what's stuck there. And often people might come to me for like physical things, so they want a massage, and then at the same time we're uncovering emotional layers that are there. So
that's amazing. I think that's the absolute ultimate, is to go to a healer, or a healer that does body work, that can tune into your body, because when you can tell the difference when somebody's touching you, with a massage, and somebody's really woke and they can feel the high frequency, versus when they're not and they're just sort of like
right.
Somebody, yeah. And that's such a beautiful gift, to tune into your body, because in this day and age, it's almost like we're not fully in our bodies, because we all have our phones and our apps, and we're virtually mentally online, and so coming back to the source of self is like one of the most important things you can possibly do, right?
Definitely, yeah. And we're not connecting with each other, because we're like this little device.
I know, it's not the same.
This appendage, this new appendage. Yeah.
And going into trauma, I think trauma is something really worth talking about, because it is my belief that everyone has trauma or comes into trauma, because if you don't get it through life, it's inherited in your DNA as well. Trauma travels through 7 generations. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'd like you to just jump in wherever you feel comfortable. It'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So, in the chapter, I'm basically, it's called Emergence, and it's, moving through the darkness. I really found a way to embrace the darkness. And because I do a lot of healing work, I have been uncovering layers and layers of what I was. So my main thing that I'm talking about in the chapter is how I'm healing from sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And so there have been many layers, and I've experienced so many different healing modalities and
Mm-hmm.
processes. And that actually ultimately led me to, become the healer that I am today, the woman that I am today. So that's been an amazing journey. So that being said, this final piece of it that really got me to return to my own self-love, trust in my healing gifts, and like get into the deepest stuck dark places that were still me, because I had been like doing so much energy work and all these different things. I'm like, why is this coming back? Why am I still being triggered by these things? So I basically recently sat and did a cycle of ayahuasca and plant medicine, different plant medicines. And so that was, I feel like, what helped me really blast through the deepest stuck. It was like this dark pit that was stuck in my abdomen, or like left side abdomen. And it was like every night that I sat, it was just there, and it would reappear and show me different things that was stuck there. And then the different layers of fear, and how like one instance that happens in your life then almost shift how you operate in the world. So even the different layers of fear that were attached to that one little incident, or not, I mean, there were several incidents, unfortunately, but the main wound, core wound, how that traveled with me over.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, ayahuasca is known to really get to the really like the root. So many times with healing, we're trimming and we're clearing, and sometimes great healers will be able to pull stuff out by the root, but there are so many layers, and then sometimes the roots are so deep, and what was that experience like when you're in the moment? Could you actually feel the trauma moving up and out, or did you actually see the darkness? It is so true. We lodge energy vortexes in our body, because if we can't process it, say we were too young, or we didn't have the voice, or it wasn't okay for us to stand up for ourselves, we stuff our bodies with so much pain, and so we have to release it, because if we don't, that's where dis-ease comes in, and so it's a disruptor of that, maybe that energy cycle. I'd like to know, like, when you went to that deepest, darkest place, what came up for you?
Yeah, so many things. And what's interesting is that that pain had been coming and going for about a year.
In your stomach?
In my stomach. And so I wasn't doing my practice as much because I was a new mom. And so my first kind of responsibility was to this young being. And so I'm just like tending to him, and I'm doing 5 minutes of breath work and then 5 minutes of yoga in my practice. That was my self-care, and getting some work done, on the weekends or something. But it wasn't like a daily fully checking in practice. And so this helped me return to that plant medicine. And it was really interesting. I found that she was really gentle with me, the ayahuasca. They call her the grandmother medicine. And some people really have like some really intense stuff. And I mean, you're there to purge almost what's within you. So that can occur violent, as it's coming up. And it's also how you embrace it. So I was all in, ready for it. And I was fully accepting of the process. So I didn't even view it as a violent thing happening to me. I was also going into it like thinking, oh, what will she show me? because, you know, I hear people relive their traumatic experiences, and I'm not really sure I want to read that again. And so I visioned, you know, the house where the first incident happened. And it's actually the house I'm in again. Now this house is much different. It's like a 5-bedroom, 2-story house versus a 2-bedroom, tiny house. But in the first thing that she showed me was the old house. I was like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to go in that door? And I actually start walking in, you know, in my vision, I'm walking to that door and going, okay, I'm accepting and I'm ready. I'm ready to uncover whatever, you know, you want to show me, unveil to me. And then my cousin who shared this work with me, she actually happened to be there, and she was one of the guardians, and she played this amazing, gorgeous music, and it just surrounded me with love.
Wow.
It stopped me. It stopped me from going there to that. And I just felt like that was just the medicine's way of like just having me touch upon this so that I can like unveil things so that I could heal from it. But it wasn't taking me at least to those dark places to like re-experience them. It was showing me where things were stuck. And I saw like darker energies in a sense of like dark dragons and darker caricatures, but they occurred to me like really playful. And so that was part of what I was asking for within the medicine too, was like learning to be with like the darkness, you know. And so that just, I found that just really beautiful, and being able to be with that, and yeah.
That's so amazing. That's beautiful. I mean, that is such an important part, is I think part of the healing is fully honoring the darkness for the medicine that it brings, even though it comes in a way that can feel very, you know, traumatic at the time. And yet this is how many wounded healers become incredible master healers, you know, because you have to go through the dark night of the soul. You have to be able to touch and walk through darkness in order to get to the light. But not only that, you need to know your way around so you can help other people through there. You would never know your way, how to help others, had you not walked through that darkness yourself. There's so much value in journeying through that. And so I have to say, you're a very brave woman. You know, your chapter is so deeply moving and profound. I had to read it a few times. I was just, wow. I mean, the level of the woman that you're showing up to be in the world is amazing, amazing. And, you know, we were talking earlier about how, you know, one can go through darkness and trauma and still bring the light forward and still call in that beautiful love, you know, and family and hope and all those things that make us happy, give us a full life, you know, that you don't have to stay stuck forever, that it's important to make the effort though, you know. And I think the reason why your journey was probably, you know, I wouldn't say it's not smooth sailing, but it was, you didn't have to face that stuff because you had already been facing the darkness. You had already been getting the sessions, doing the work. And, you know, that is so important. That is so vital. I think people want just one magic pill or one magic session. And it's not like that. You know, we have to sort of work through the stuff. And then you can also have these huge breakthroughs and then cycle you know, then you clear, you're on another level, but you're still working. We're always working at different various levels.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And that reminds me of, you know, one of the pieces where I was working through, and this is before my ayahuasca journey.
Mm-hmm.
And some things had like redeveloped for me. And so I had to schedule in time to actually cry for myself. You know, my life is just chaotic. You're a mom, you're up to things. And so, yeah, I was like, I have 10 minutes. I'm gonna do this.
Oh my gosh. Right now.
I'm just, and no, it actually was like, I was getting ready to pack, and I was doing all these things that day, and I was like, okay, I have about 10 minutes to cry now. I grabbed my tissue boxes and my blankie and went into the couch and just like cocooned myself, created this little chrysalis for myself, and just like was just like there in the pit of the and just sobbing. And that's part of the journey, you know, like I was sobbing for the little girl, and then I was sobbing for myself in that present moment, because the wound had been reopened. So one of my abusers had recently passed away, and that just like explosion in my face, like emotion and like the anger and the frustration that hadn't been released yet. And so I was just like, oh boy, there's that. What do I do with this? And then that release, and that being there, and loving up on that little girl, and then loving up my future self, and loving up on, you know, the woman that was there crying and re-experiencing things. So
wow, it's so important to love all the selves, because we're not just dealing with this being right here. There's many different versions, you know, your past, present, future self, right? And so I think that's one of the key components in healing, is realizing that we're sort of living simultaneously in many moments, and also in this moment, but loving the many parts of us, because we're always somebody new, you know, always becoming somebody new. We're becoming, you know, we're humans becoming. And you know, I think it's hard because people don't understand that you have to still nurture their inner child. What do you have to say? Because that's a lot of the work you do too, is nurturing the inner child. I'd love to also dive into more of the work you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one of the modalities I do is soul integration, and so we look at, you know, those pieces of us, you know, the wounds that occur, you know, and often when we were young, like 3, 5, those ages are a lot of times where our core wounds originally happened. And looking back at you know, what happened in that moment, like a piece of us was fractured. And yeah, and it's not about erasing that part. You know, it's about looking at that, you know, and just looking at the trauma that occurred, and then healing that little girl, that little piece, and looking at that, loving it, and then filling it up with the love, and then bringing that, like returning back to that wholeness of you.
Wow, that's beautiful. And that's one thing I'd like everyone to know that's listening, is that it is possible to heal from trauma. That, you know, it's not like it's the easiest path, but it's vital if you really want to flourish in your life, you know. So there's so many tools, and I'm really interested in how you know, the ayahuasca journey sort of helped it lift up that darkness and out, you know, of your field, because a lot of people have stomach issues. I mean, I remember when I was a little girl, I always had stomach aches and stuff, and that's like a place where, that's our second brain. That's where we store a lot of the unprocessed emotions, or the fear, or the things you can't say. Like a lot of that stuff goes into your stomach.
Yeah. And then right next to your stomach is also like your pelvic floor. And so that's very connected to our jaw. So when you're thinking of being, like in my case, being a young girl who was told not to share the abuse, and like, you know, it's like literally locking your jaw down, you know, so your pelvic floor then is like also clenched.
Wow.
And, you know, that's also all associated. And then your stomach is so connected. So you're like clenching, your body clenches down and holds you. And it's way to protect you. And, you know, that's your way of survival then. That's how you learn to process it then. And so with the ayahuasca, it came up for me in just different ways, and it was there, and it was just this dark pit. The first night, it was almost like having me really love all the work that I do. So I just kept massaging that part of me, and that and trusting my instincts, because the shaman will tell you, you know, don't lie in fetal position, because that may, I don't know, the energy can get stuck there. Trusting my inner guidance. Well, you know, just something does feel stuck there, and this is the side you lay on to help it flow and digest and move through you. And so moving through that stuckness in that way and purging. And then the second night, it was again, but the second, it was like really, it just felt like this really dark pit in my stomach, and I couldn't move it with like the massage work and different things. And I was starting to do energy work, and then actually went to my cousin, and she started to do like, and she's just worked with the medicine for so long, and she started to do this like this saging with this whip from Peru. I don't know if they call that version of the sage, but it's like this whip-like thing, and you light it, and you're like swirling that around, and then she's getting into magic and healing into my abdomen, and that already is like starting the work to occur. And I hadn't brought my crystals with me, and I was like, I didn't bring my crystals, and she like gives me this crystal, go work with this, and like so I'm just there, and so I'm getting to use the energies that I possess to and transmit rather to move it. And so I'm totally doing that, and like it's just like, okay, I know how to work with this, and then the medicine comes to me, and it's like my galactic team comes in, and they come and they surround me, and they start working on me, and I'm like, oh, I can just like hold my arm.
I love that. I can relax.
And so I call it a spiritual surgery, because that's literally what was happening to me at that time. And I was just totally accepting of it. And I was like, okay, cool. And I released like all these other things. Yeah. I mean, I even went into, you know, like with orgasm for me, I've had trouble with that. And I even I was like, let's throw that in, because I sexual abuse, but you know, let's heal that too.
Yes.
You know, it's all connected.
It's all connected, and that's part of your pleasure and joy and happiness. So let's get that activated.
Right? Seriously. Oh my gosh. And then it totally was like, I
love it. That's incredible. So, I mean, it's like that was your intention, and did it shift the way that you are sexually? Like, do you feel more sexually open with your beloved?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to Hawaii this Thursday, so I'll keep you posted.
Yes. Wow.
We fell asleep with my 3-year-old, so sadly.
That is so exciting. That's so beautiful. I love that you had so much support, you know, too, around you. And, you know, it's interesting how when we are breaking through the barrier of what the cycle of trauma is, it's like we're breaking glass ceilings. Like, you know, you having the courage to do this work is really a gift to your whole lineage. And maybe they may never understand what you're bringing to the table. But I believe in each family there is one brave warrior of light. Not to say that the others, aren't, but, one brave warrior of light that steps out of line from that continuous cycle and says, nope, not me. I'm choosing something different. And it's not that it's an easy path. It is a path that takes immense courage. You're standing for your whole lineage, and you maybe even don't know it at the time. You're breaking free of certain webbing, that's invisible webbings that are there. And so sometimes family can be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking? Why are you sharing? Or why are you doing all this healing? Like, it may not make sense to people around you, but that's the thing about the warrior of light, the star seed. You're seated here for a reason. And, a seed has to break open in order to grow. And it can look very messy or chaotic to people on the outside. Like, what are you doing? And you're growing into something new. And people are like, well, what is that? What's going on? And how is it for you with all the energy work and healing you're doing? Like, does your family accept it, or is it a little bit far out, or how does that land for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of that. Some of my family is a little more open to it. And then some of my family, like I grew up in a very Catholic and almost like very conservative. My mom was the oldest of 10 children.
Wow.
Yeah, so she comes from that time. And so that was always, I think, talking about the energy work. I don't know that she necessarily said it, but I think I sensed that there was maybe a little bit of like a uneasiness or fear there for me, just sure, like, was I tapping into the right energies or your good energies. So anytime I would share energy with her, like just recently she had a cold, and I told her, I use the energy work that I do, especially the Kadawa. It has this like ocean frequency, and so that's clearing. And so I told her, I was like, oh yeah, I was going to a seminar, we were moving, and I didn't have time to be sick, so I just started running that. That was
amazing. It's amazing.
Sick, and I was like, so Mom, if you want, I can work on you. And it took a day. Like, I had to bring it up again. The first day she was like, just like kind of like just went over.
It's like, you want to bring energy to my cold? I don't get it.
Yeah. And the second day I was like, well, if you want, I can work on you. Oh, what does that mean? Do we have to sit and be quiet?
Oh.
And it was really beautiful, and she let me work on her, and then it just started like she told me, I just like, after that I was done and just let her be. And then she said her nose started running, and the next day so I was like, oh.
Wow.
So yeah, and then she was like, oh yeah, I'm talking to your dad about it, I want him to try it now. So I'm just like, oh, I'm just so blessed that my parents are open. And even sharing with her the ayahuasca experience, I think she was like, she's like, well, I know you do a lot of these things, these different things. And I know it, you're finding things through it, you're finding new experiences, and you're healing from it. So
wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. I think we share the same lineage as far as like the Philippine lineage, my mom's side, and so I understand it's very Catholic, and so a lot of family members were like, okay, like they love me, but it's like, okay, they don't really share much. They're like, okay, but they're trying to be nice, but I can tell they're like, what are you doing,
Yeah, and then there's that piece of it where they just won't go there because, you know, I'll talk about shamans or different things. They're like, oh, yeah, they used to do that. But, you know, they talk about the province, like the old ways. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of fear around it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear, but, you know, that's part of our lineage is we actually come from, you know, shamanism is really part of the way of the indigenous Filipino, which is, you know, you don't really see that much anymore because it's been so it's just shifted so much since the cities are growing. But I've been in the mountains, and the mountain people are very much into the plant medicine and shamanism, and they're beautiful, amazing people. You know, I would say like the natives, you know, like they're using the land and they're weaving their own clothes and they're connected to source and spirit, and it's just, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's just so amazing, and it's amazing how we can forget where we come from. That this is part of who we are. How could we forget this beauty and divinity and grace, and the truest nature of our being is total love and total acceptance. And that's what I felt when I met you know, beautiful you know, beings in the Cordillera Mountains. They're a little bit like shorter. It's almost like a tribe. And they weave their own clothes, and they're sort of like the last of them because they were much older, but they came in a group, and my mom and I were just walking and we met them, and they were so loving and so kind. They gave us jewelry that they had made, and they took us to a cave where they meditate, and also a burial cave where they bury people, but they're so sentient, like purest hearts and souls. And we must never forget the divinity from which we come from, and we're rebuilding that into our system because we have the codes inside of us, you know. And so the work you do and everything that you're doing is really, it's reinstating the divinity that exists already. It's like your true template. It's like you're reactivating your divine template, and that is contagious. That'll go into your starseed being son, who is so gorgeous and sweet, and that energy is like recreating and reactivating all the gifts and the beauty that's natural, and also the healing gifts, because those are very natural to, you know, Filipinos, because, and that's why so many nurses and things like that, because that nurturing heart, that the healing with the hands and all of that is part of our innate being. We just forgot. So we're sort of coming into remembering, and I'd like to bring forward your healing modality. Speaking of remembering, because so many amazing beings are being activated with remembering of their gift and their particular modality. So tell us about your healing modality.
Yeah, so I created a healing modality called Gaia Flow, and then those are two words from the Tagalog Philippine language. So Isa means one, and happens to be my son's middle name, and then Gaia is like reflecting, and so like the energy you put out is what you receive in return. So through this practice, we use pressure point therapy balls that I basically am putting together. And so through the process of putting together, I put energy, loving, healing energy into the balls as well. So then that's working with you. And so then just a series of techniques of like yoga, pressure point techniques using the body. And then at the same time, I'll tie in the breath work. So I'll ask people to tap in and breathe as a way to release stuckness. So, like even like moving it out, like vocally moving it out. And that comes from like a SRI, a somato respiratory integration. It's weaving a lot of different techniques in there. And then energy, like how to move energy through your body as well. So
wow, that sounds amazing. So a session, is it like a hands-on session, or Is it something you can do distance, or how is it, how does somebody get a session with you?
Yeah, so typically distance works best if we're just working with energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for the Gaia Flow, I like to have more of a one-on-one in-person session with
Mm-hmm.
someone first, so that they really can understand their body. I mean, if you're someone who already knows your body and maybe have received a lot of different massages or done a lot of
Mm-hmm.
yoga, and you're able to feel in where things are stuck,
Mm-hmm.
then you may be okay with working virtually. But it would have to be a conference call where we can actually see each other, so I can see your
Mm-hmm.
and positioning. And then, so yeah, typically it's a one-on-one session where I'm able
Mm-hmm.
to help you move with your body and
Mm-hmm.
feel your body, and then teach you different techniques to then practice on your own. And
Mm-hmm.
then ultimately, I also weave the Gaia flow in with sound healing. So that practice is
Mm-hmm.
called sound healing flow. So the ultimate vision would be to have people who have already been practicing the Gaia flow, and then that could be even a class. So you can,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have DVDs and videos as well.
Wow.
People can do it at home. Um, but so people have been understanding how to work with their body,
Mm-hmm.
and then we do a session where we're just using the sound the
Mm.
sound to move and clear the vibrations in the room and the energy as well. So my husband and I, we practice Akadawa, and we're fusing that into the healing medicine and the music
Mm.
at the same time. So that's helping people move. And so um, you're tapping in, you're feeling into what you need. And, you know, as a practitioner, I could come around and help people. Um, but ultimately, I want to get people to the place where they wake up their own healing ability in
Mm.
themselves.
Mm. That's amazing. That is so beautiful. Um, I'm gonna have to try that when I come back to California, because that sounds amazing. I love the idea of unlocking different parts of our body, because like we said earlier, so much can get stuck in the body, especially if that's how we're accustomed, like how you grew up
Mhm.
is clenching and, being just on guard all the time. It can take a lifetime to unwind these energies, and we have to be really patient with the process. You know, I think that is incredible to start your healing journey wherever you are. And then, plant medicine can just really quantify everything you're already doing. But it's great to have a foundation, because
Mhm.
I think if you just jump in and you don't have any understanding of energy, that might be, maybe or may not be, more challenging than a person who has taken time to center in, to find somebody like you to work with, where they're already having clearings, they're already creating space for that massive purge. Because it's like we're purging things out of our body, out of our mind. And we talk about like ayahuasca as being something that can really help people, possibly even who possibly have mental illness as well, because sometimes mental illness is not mental illness or what you think it is. It's like reoccurring stuck energy patterns. Energy healers view things very differently than the mainstream. We see things in patterns, and so ayahuasca is like a disruptor for those patterns, for those energies. And especially if you know energy or have facilitators, it can probably help move that energy in a different way, so you can clear yourself from that karmic pattern wherever it came from. What advice would you have for people that might be going to journey or something like that?
Yeah. The biggest thing is just having a clear intention,
Hmm.
because she hears that, and
Hmm.
I mean, you get your intention.
Wow.
it,
Wow.
it's so powerful.
Mm.
So yeah, having a clear intention is
Hmm.
key, like sit with yourself, meditate, whatever that is, having a clear intention, and then being able to integrate afterwards. So, you know, having a coach, having someone who understands the journeying process, and then how to work with, you know, what happens after you've uncovered all these things and freed up, and then what are you also replacing that with. So if you've removed and released stuck energy within you, then what are you replacing it with?
It's so important.
Yeah, the third day of our cycle there, they brought in this grandfather medicine, which is most people know it as San Pedro, but they call it Wachuma. And that's the grandfather medicine, and he's just a heart opener, and like they say it cracks you open. And you know, I was like, okay, you know, I feel connected, but that's what I also just, I already knew this about myself, but I'm very aware of energies around me. So, when I was in the room, people were like celebrating and eating and dancing, and I was like, okay, I'm like having wonderful heart connected instances with people, but I was like, is there something more here? And I wasn't done. So with my healing experience, so I basically went to heal from the sexual abuse. That's what I went. That was my main intention, and it was also to learn to love and trust my gifts again. So I just moved outside, and then the Wachuma loves the sun, so it like it moves really slowly as it like inches up, like the cactus inches up towards the sun. And I was just in love with that. My body like was just waking up, and then that stuckness came back, and I was like, oh, I thought I cleared you last night. But it was there to show me something else. So I feel like they were both, I was still in my system, obviously, and I feel like it was there to show me that, okay, so then that was stuck there, and I was moving through that, and then it was remembering all the things I do with Gaia Flow. Like, I didn't have the ball with me, but what could I use in my environment? I was like picking up rocks, and I was picking up like what, you know, the indigenous would do back then. They didn't have little balls to like work with. So it's just using your environment. And then it showed me this area in my back that was stuck. I was moving through that, and then I was like, okay, this is where I've been tied in to the people who abused me, and where I'm still connected to them. And so I was doing an energetic cord cutting, and then this was the biggest gift of all. When it was all said and done, after the healing had happened, I was just sitting there, and I was like, oh, I'm ready to forgive them.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have that intention going in at all. And I accepted that. I was like, you know what? I was chosen for this for whatever reason, in my karmically I chose to be the one as well. Go through the abuse, experience the abuse, and then clear it like you said, for your lineage, and those who come before you and after you. So,
wow. It takes, and that's what I mean, it takes such a strong soul. You have to really know your intention when you come down into this space, into this plane of existence, you know, and that is so beautiful. That's like the ultimate win, is like, wow, you went through all that, and then you get to clear that cycle. Like, powerful.
Yeah. And I feel like it's like a new version of me. It's like she's been like reawakened. She's been I've been, yeah, like it's like just a level of comfort in your own skin that is, yeah, it's hard to describe, and it's really subtle. And I don't know if everyone would recognize it. Like it, I mean, you know, if you're going in, I mean, some people might go in for recreation, but you know, if you're going in with a pure intention, then I think those people are the people who are ready. Or those whatever that awakening is for you.
I'll talk about awakening. And trust, and that's just amazing and beautiful. So 3 days is a journey. Wow. A major, like, you're not going to come out the same. I mean, your cells are going to shift. If you're clearing and purging that much, how could you be the same person? That's just not possible.
Yeah.
I
know. So.
I love that. I think isn't that the goal too? Is like, we're us, but just recreating newer and like more updated versions. You know, like on your phone, it's like, please update. You know, and you gotta update it, and it's kind of like, well, we
want that update or not?
Yeah. Amazing. And so you now offer various kinds of healing, and you also do healing transmissions with music, which is super awesome. What is the best way people can find your work and get to work with you?
Yeah, so I think we're going to post links in the body of this, right?
Yes.
So, yes, so soulgardenspace.com. So you talk about the seed and all of that.
Soul Garden, I love that.
Is one way. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, my pages are Soul Garden Space, and my Instagram handle is also Soul Garden Space. And then let's see.
And what are the healing modalities that you're offering?
Yeah, so there's Akadawa is one thing, like 7 different frequencies, and I can either do a healing session, or I can also do an activation, so people can then move forward and use the Akadawa for themselves. And it's wonderful. You can use it with your artwork as well, with your writing, anywhere in the world. Anything that you do, you can use that.
We're going to bring that into Awakening Star Seeds. Woohoo, I'm bringing the 7 rays.
And then I'm also a Reiki practitioner. I'm a yoga practitioner, massage certified. So really what I offer, I mean, you can go through and you can see through Soul Garden Space, that will link you to Breathe Body Works, which is where I mainly will list of different modalities that I offer. And through there, I talk about the Reiki, I talk about different styles of massage that I offer. And then there's also just, you know, you can come to me and just say, you know, this is the intention I have, and then we weave together. And that's what I love the most, is just, you know, weave together which pieces are going to help you.
Gorgeous. I think that sounds like so much fun. I love that. I love that. And I love your share and your story and your journey of strength and love and breaking old cycles and stepping into the new, because that is what a starseed does, is, you know, creating new paradigms. And it's all starts with us. You know, everyone wants to see a quick shift out in the world, but until people really understand that the shift in the world comes with a shift within, that is where it all starts. If we can't just keep raging on outside and not realize, when we take responsibility and do the work inside, everything in our own life will transform. This was such an inspiring story and conversation. So thank you, Jen, for coming on, for sharing your voice, your wisdom. I know that your story will really help guide many others to know that it's possible to heal. And it's not that, you know, you don't still get triggers or whatever. It's really about stepping into something new and creating the life you want, right? So you have a beautiful family and a beautiful life and a beautiful practice, and you're doing your art from healing to music, and that's so inspiring. So thank you for being such a great example of what is possible. And
thank you. Yeah, and with that, you reminded me of you know, the newest mission is Soul Garden Sprouts. And that's where I work with new moms, new families, and their young ones. So we do yoga, we sing songs, and so my husband and I are going to be, you know, working collaboratively on that, like movement and fun stuff for the kids and the family. And then we just released a video series called The Boogly Wooglies. And I want to share that with the audience too for and it's really for all ages. I mean, mainly we are finding a way to, we use puppets, and it's really cool. Like, think of the Muppets for music education. So
I
it's
love the Muppets. Are you kidding?
yeah, introducing music in a really fun and playful way, because some people have traumatic experiences, I'm included, where one of my piano teachers was a nun, and I had to like use my fingers really properly and sit really properly and learn like very classical things, which I understand now of having a classical training, but the trauma from that, you know, of being so strictly introduced into music at a young age, it takes the fun out of it.
The joy, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the latest project we have as well. It is.
I love how you collaborate so much with your partner. I think that's really incredible. That's the way to go. And also things that include your child too, that you know he can benefit from. So it's a win-win all around, you guys. And so check out her links. They're all posted below. And I hope to talk to you again very soon, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a beautiful day. With that, so much love and blessings we're sending your way.